So what I want to understand is what you got, like, why did you choose this room? What are you trying to get out of this session today so that we can make sure that you walk away with something that's useful and you can take something home? Because I know what I think we're going to talk about, but that may not be on track with what you guys are wanting to accomplish. And quite frankly, it can go in 500 different directions. So if there's a different direction we need to go in, we can certainly do that. So what is it that you're hoping to walk away from this session with today? Yes, ma'am.
Finding ways to re-energize our staff that have been there for a while, that have stuck with us through these last couple of years that have been difficult, and then how do we, rejuvenate them and hopefully in turn attract others to come back or come to us.
So specific ways to do it. Not just like theory, but like how do we act? Like what are some examples of that maybe others have done? Yeah.
To have your directors get on board first, because if the people underneath the directors see them doing it, then they'll do it. So how do we get our directors to get excited so that their employees will follow suit?
Do they allow you to hit your directors with a stick? No? Okay.
No.
That option is out. Anyone else?
I just think, like, with COVID stretched through, we're at a point where we're needing to do a whole reboot. Like, you have the framework that you kind of followed, and some of that's got pushed to the side because other things were more important. And so how do you reintroduce that and make that more exciting and not seem like the same old thing that you've always been doing?
Yeah.
We've heard a lot about quiet quitting in our organization, about people, our staff, they're still showing up, they're still doing their job, but they're not as engaged. How do we re-engage them and re-attract them to what they've been doing and get them excited again?
So are you guys thinking about this whole company-wide, hospital-wide, or are you thinking just your departments?
Hospital-wide.
Okay. Be a whole lot easier to do if it was just your department. But it's a much... What's that?
A lot of us are department one.
Yeah.
Well, just change your own attitude and you're fine. Let's get some therapy time and you're good. Okay, good. Anything else? Because my hope is that we can collaborate together, use everybody's brains, and come up with some actionable things. It may spark, somebody's idea may spark another thought, and then you guys can actually go home with something that hopefully it's able to be implemented and then sustained long term. So. This is who we are, this is who I am, I guess, and one of the things that we have spent a lot of time with our company is focusing on company culture. It's the thing that made the largest impact for us, and then through that we've been able to win some awards that is really based off what our employees' feedback is. Like, this is not stuff that we push, it's really based off employee surveys and how they feel within our organization. And it's tied to various metrics, and so it's something that we use as a measuring stick to, are we delivering on our company culture and what our promise is to our employees? Because we use this as a KPI for us. We want to measure our company culture, which is, there's some ways to do that, but this is a way for us to know, are we on track and are we delivering? It's not about winning an award, it's really, do our employees feel that we're delivering for them? And that's what we promise to them when they come into our organization. That's why they choose our organization. That's why they probably choose your organization, because we choose to differentiate ourselves on our company culture. And so I just wanted to share how we got there, why that was important to us. So my dad started our company in 1982, and it was an ATM supply company. Does anyone know what an ATM is? Which nobody uses them too much anymore. Those are the machines that spit cash out. We used to provide the stuff that goes inside there, but not the money. And so it was a super sexy industry. We're selling blank rolls of paper. I don't know if you've ever tried to sell a blank roll of paper, but toilet paper probably has more advantages than our product did. And so we had a hard time attracting people to our organization because, most people come out of college and they're like, I'm gonna slang some paper. And so we always had a line at the door of people who just wanted to sell our product, which is sarcasm. The company started in '82, and as we actually grew to become the largest independent provider of ATM supplies in the United States. We had and have clients in all 50 states, 7 other countries. We currently ship to 178 different countries, but it's not because of ATM supplies. We had success, and as the world changed and as you could get cash back at Target and people adopted debit cards, ATM transaction volumes decreased. And I know that you really don't care about the ATM industry, but it changed our business model. We had to change what we did as an organization. And so we started evaluating who we are. We reinvented the company to become a single source provider for the banking industry. And I know that that's not necessarily relevant to you guys, but we now, fast forward, work with a lot of healthcare organizations. We work with the number 10 company on the Fortune 500 list. But what happened through that transition, we decided to reinvent the company. We're going to focus on different things, install new software to run our organization. I'm sure that you guys haven't had to deal with any different software changes that happen in your industry, but that was a challenge. And as we were making these changes, I bought the company for my dad, and he exited the company quickly due to some health reasons. And what we found was that there was just this vacuum of power. Like, my dad had, he was in charge, and things transitioned. Just like the last speaker talked, when the CEO changes at organizations, typically the company culture changes. And so I walked into our company one day that I owned, and I looked at the mauve carpet and the beige walls, and I was like, I don't want to be here. This place sucks. I don't enjoy working here. I don't like the things we do. Like, there's nothing that gets me excited about this, and I own the effing company. That's a bad spot to be in. I don't know if you've ever felt that way, but it's one thing that if you're an employee and you can just go, you can move, you can go to a different organization, but when you own the thing, like, the only thing I could do is say, that's on me. Like, that's something I have to fix. I have to change this, because if I don't want to walk in these doors, why does anyone else want to walk in these doors? And has anybody ever read the book Good to Great? They talk about getting the right people on the bus first and then driving the bus somewhere. So getting the right people to do the right thing before you decide where you're going to go as a company. Well, we decided to go in a different direction as a company, but we didn't have the right people. And what was worse than that, we didn't even know why we existed as a company. We didn't know what we stood for. We didn't know what values we stood for to even hire the right people. So I don't know if I'm probably strange in this regard. I went to a conference in Vegas, and I had just read Delivering Happiness by Tony Hsieh, who ran Zappos. And he basically wrote a book about company culture. Well, in the book, they talk about how if you come to Vegas, you can come tour our facility for free and talk to our management staff if you're really passionate about these things. So instead of going to the conference, I went to their headquarters and did this tour and spent an hour with their management team asking them, how did they make this transition? Why are you doing this? What's important about company culture, and how do you implement it? How do you sustain it? And what I realized, we didn't know why we existed. And so we had to go through the process of defining our purpose and our values and our mission. And I'm sure that you guys all have some sort of, mission statement on the wall and some sort of core values. What I find with companies that we work with is that they're typically generic. They're kind of weak. I'm sure that there's integrity involved with some of your core values. Most companies have that, but I look at core values as a way to differentiate your company. These are things that make you stand out from everyone else. It makes you unique. It's not like your product is different, but the way that these are the things that you stand for, and that makes you different, and people think of you for those core values. What it also, oh my God, that door is so loud. Everyone look at her. So we defined those things. We started then implementing that as part of our hiring process, that we hire and fire by our core values. And when we started going through and looking at our employees who had the right skill sets to do what we wanted to do, where we were taking the company, we ended up turning over half of our staff in about a 2-year period of time. And so I would come in, so over that period, we would find the right people to fill the role, we'd hire them, and then every time I went to the warehouse to grab a box, people freaked out because they knew somebody was getting let go. And so has anybody ever been a part of an organization that has a lot of turnover like that? Yes? Is it fun? Do you enjoy it? Do you love coming to work? Are you fearful of your job?
Yeah, especially when I can't get my key to work in my door.
We rekeyed all the doors one day just for fun. I'm kidding, we didn't. That would be a fun trick though. Good April Fool's Day. So through this period of time, we thought that we were going in the right direction. We thought our business model was right. We were confident in that. But on top of making these changes, our sales volume started to drop because people stopped going to the ATM machine. And then 9/11 happened. Like, we had all these things going on in the world that started to impact our client base. And so I don't know if you've ever been in a company that the sales start to decrease, and like, this is just a perfect storm for not a fun place to work. We then reevaluated how we wanted the environment to be. My dad's way of running the company was very militaristic, I would say. 1 leader, 100 doers. I'm going to tell you what to do, and I'm only going to tell you so much, so you can only go so far. And that doesn't work well for me because I need to know more. I'm more curious. And I believe that people, when we find the right people who have similar values, we can empower them to do the things that they need to do, and that they want to do, and they love to do, and they'll do that on their own. We don't need to micromanage them. They then can go further, faster. We don't have to have as many employees because they're passionate about the things that we're passionate about. And that change allowed us to have a different environment within our company. So we started to reevaluate the benefits that we offered. And in our town, we're in Springfield, Illinois. We have large health care organizations in our town who suck up the talent because they can pay better, have better benefits. The state has way better benefits than we can compete with. We have large manufacturers like Bonomatic and other cooler companies than somebody who sells ATM supplies. So we had to differentiate ourselves on our values, and then we had to look for ways to we had to define who we wanted to be. Like, what do we want our office place to work to be like? So we decided that we wanted it to be more fun. We started to have dog days on Fridays. We let people pick the music in the office. And so some days there'd be rap music. Some days there'd be Disney theme songs, which made me want to hurt myself. We changed the vacation policies. We decided that we had core values, and then we had aspirational values. Some things that we're not going to hire and fire off of, but it's okay to do these things. So pulling pranks on each other was something where it is okay to have fun in our office. And so I would come in sometimes and my whole office was saran wrapped, or everything in my office was Christmas wrapped, even down to my pen and paper clips and pictures on the wall. And I wanted to rip somebody's head off, but then I was like, I can't, because that's the environment that we're trying to create. So I'm just going to double down on my prank that comes back to you. So we started to change how it was to be within our organization. That is one of the things that really started to propel our company forward, because when we started to be known for a fun place to work, a place that was a little bit more flexible, at that point in time, almost 100% of our customer base was in banking. So imagine the meetings that we would typically have. It's people in dark suits, white shirts, uptight people. And so if you bring those into your office and there's rap music playing and there's a dog running around and people goofing around, we changed our dress code, it either freaked people out or they're like, I'm down with this. Like, this is a company that I want to work with because I actually feel more aligned with them. We stopped caring about so much what other people thought of us because we felt like we had to put a certain perception out there. And I understand that you guys are in a field that, like, you guys are saving lives. Like, it's kind of a big deal. But it doesn't mean that you have to be uptight and stuffy. You can have some personality, and those pieces of our personality allowed us to find different clients, different employees, and the employees who were drawn to this, like, we are absolutely not right for most people to come work for us, to be a part of this team. But the ones who are, like, they really like it. And they've got just as many weird friends out there, so we can pull from their pool. That's kind of we say that we're slightly weird at our organization because we have a paper T-Rex head on the wall. We've turned him into our mascot. I mean, there's a margarita maker that we do Friday margaritas. We are not Google, like, we don't have an open bar all the time, but we do want to make it a little bit different, a little bit more fun. We then took that to how we execute our branding. We did that with how we designed our office space. And so when you come in, if you're having a meeting there, we do have couches that people sit on. And if you are that stuffy CEO from a bank, you're sure as shit sitting on that couch because it's uncomfortable, it's different, and there is no power position in the room. We designed it so that there is no head of the table. So that every person, if we're reviewing a marketing strategy, everybody's at an equal level. But that's part of our process and how we operate. And so I'm telling you this to start thinking through how you do this within your organization. How do you start making you're gonna have, beds in your rooms, but how do you make the experience different? And how does that translate to your patient experience? Because I would probably I'm not gonna enjoy being in the hospital, let's be honest. But if it was a little bit more fun, if it was a little bit more entertaining, if the nurses had more flexibility to play a prank on a patient who they knew would enjoy it, or if you could bring a dog in from time to time as like a service dog, what are some things that you can start doing to make the experience different for your patients and the employees? Those are the things that we saw started to make a difference. And once we made the change internally, our sales numbers started to turn around and we started to grow as a company again.
See, and I would think in the healthcare setting, if you're allowing your employees some more flexibility like this, they're going to be happier at work, which is going to make their patient care better because they're not going to feel so miserable.
And we've just come from a place of, like, they got to be feeling miserable, like just worked over right now. I'm in a group of CEOs in Springfield, and one of them is the head of the main hospital in our town, and just hearing, his input from how the nurses feel in their organization and what they're trying to do to change that perception it's an uphill battle. And it's a challenge, but I feel like that's the thing that you can do right now. And it doesn't always have to cost money. These are just thought changes. These are just changes in the way that we think about how business should operate. Like, do they all have to wear the same color scrubs? Can we have contests with that? Can we let them decorate those differently? What are some things that we can let them have more personality and show a little bit of themselves? Because if you guys, you're in marketing, I'm assuming you can, to a certain extent, wear what you want, but how do you show, like your own your personality in a uniform scrub system that on this floor we all wear blue? Are there ways, and maybe that's mandated, but are there ways that you can start to let them do something differently? Can they get different lanyards? Can they decorate their badges? Like, what are some things that you can start to do to make that feel a little bit different? So those are the things that I'm hoping that you guys can start to think about as you're going through. So we reinvented the company. We set goals to double in 5 years. We did it in 4 years. It was because we changed the company culture. We then started to attract different talent because of who we are and what we stood for. That then changed where we went as a company. The lady were most of you in here before this last session? No? Okay. Has everybody read stats on what's happening in the world? Like the quiet quitting, people are feeling disconnected with their workplace. Does anyone have any sort of survey system that you're using internally to measure people's engagement?
We're rolling that out right now.
Okay. What are you wanting to accomplish with that?
Well, number one, we're trying to figure out what it is that they're looking for to feel more engaged, because I'm actually the employee engagement chair. But the way that we're looking at it is different than what our C-suite is looking at. They're basically making us be like the fun people, because they think if we make work more fun, they're going to be more engaged. But what we're finding from the employees is they don't really care about the fun. They want other things that the committee can't offer. So we're trying to do what we've been asked to do. So we're just trying to get feedback from the employees on what can we do to make you feel like this feels like the more, basically what's going to make you want to come to work and not hate yourself. Like there's no nice way to put it. Like what can we do to make it that when you come here you don't feel miserable?
So the things that they've offered up that aren't throw me a party, have more donuts in the break room. Like what are some things that they're throwing out there as options or ideas?
That's what they want us to do.
They want you to?
Yeah, like they want us to, they approved it yesterday that we're gonna have a employee picnic and wiener roast next Saturday, because that's lots of time for people to decide they're coming, and I'm gone at a conference.
Upper management wants that.
Yeah.
But what do the employees
We
want?
don't know yet. That's what we're
Okay.
asking them for. But upper management is having us ask them what kinds of things we can do for them that's all fun-based. It's not the things that the employees are saying that they're wanting, like feedback on just like before decisions are made and rolled out. Ask us what we think about it. That's going to make us more feeling.
They want to feel included.
What the employees are saying they want is not what administration is wanting to hear. So it's really hard for us with the employee engagement committee to go out there and try to make it more fun when they don't want the fun. They want to be heard, they want to feel respected, and they want to feel like they matter. And C-suite thinks they're going to feel like they matter if we do more fun stuff for them.
Does anybody else hear this in their organization? Is this something that's going on?
I plan all the events at our hospital currently, and I get that. I have people all the time that tell me, I don't want donuts, I'd rather have a bigger bonus, or I'd rather you pay me more. Like they don't, and it's like the more events I have, I see less appreciation each time. And we do a lot of stuff for our staff at Wabash.
But then on the other side of it, if we don't have an event, then people are mad because we didn't have the event, but they don't want us to have the event because they want more money in their pocket. Or
see, and we just all of our employees, what they called it right sizing. So they did all these surveys, and so all the employees got right sized, and then they gave them an additional 2%. So everybody has seen a bump, but they just feel like it's not enough.
Because everything's going up.
Right.
Gas, I mean, life spending just so high. What is 2%,
And we did it where we've already done the surveys, but then nobody's seen the results. So like to try to.
Oh, the follow through wasn't there.
Exactly. So then now I have people asking, well, did we ever get results in the, and then the admin wants to send out another survey. I'm like,
And I
you
think
can't do that because people haven't gotten, did you hear something that you didn't want to hear and then we're just not acting on it? Probably. So, but
I feel like that's kind of like how all of us marketing people feel, is that you kind of get stuck in the middle because you hear the employees saying what they want and admin doesn't want to hear it. And when admin doesn't follow through and you're trying to go tell them like, it's going to be okay, they don't believe you anymore. And when your employees don't believe you, you kind of start losing your own faith because you're stuck in that in between where everything is out of your hands and you're trying to do what you can do and you don't have the authority to make those changes.
So has anybody had success having that conversation with the C-suite or whoever that may be and giving them that honest feedback?
I gave them the feedback, they just didn't like it.
So when they come to you, when they come to you and say, we want this result, how do you frame it so that it's not just, oh, we're going to start baking more donuts in the cafeteria so that we've got that? Because
for me right now is I just try to tell them like I'm listening to the employees and that's not what they need from you right now. What they need from you is to see the changes that you're making, to know that, you say we're rolling out a new culture program, but you're telling us these things, but we're not seeing you exhibit the behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the things that your employees are saying about you, and that they don't feel like, that they feel like it needs to start from you and work their way down. And until they see it from you, they're not going to buy into it from themselves. And I mean, I said it, and I've seen a little bit of a change in our CNO, but that's our biggest problem right now is until they see it from the top down, from our C-suite to our department managers, the employees aren't going to buy in.
So who's responsible in an organization for culture? Who owns that? Because I feel like every metric, like somebody owns the financials of the organization, probably the CFO. And patient care, somebody owns that. Who owns company culture?
I feel like it falls on marketing at our hospital. I mean, I personally put it on my plate. I mean, I've had people tell me that that's not necessarily my problem, but as a marketing person, if my employees aren't happy in implementing the branding that I want the hospital's image to be in the public, and then I have nurses.
Oh, your employees represent your brand? That's a weird thought.
I know, right? And so if they're going out there bitching and moaning about how they feel about their work environment, well, you just killed all the advertising I did this month with your personal experience as an employee. So I need you to be happy about your job and find value in what you do.
Well, and it sure as hell doesn't help attracting new employees if they're at the grocery store complaining about how they work at this place.
And so sometimes it's just that one bad apple in a department that will start the complaining, and then everybody loves to like get in.
Pile on,
because it
yeah.
makes them feel good. I don't know, to complain, and so it's like, okay, so how do we kill the complaining and look at the positive and have them focus more on why do you value your job? Why did you want to go into healthcare? What keeps you coming each day?
So who does that coaching internally?
We just hired an employee culture coordinator, maybe through our exact title. She works under the HR umbrella. She just started with us this year. But I feel like she works one-on-one with our department directors because I feel like that's where we miss our mark.
Mm-hmm.
We have our C-suite and we're all excited and we want to roll all these things out that the board has done with the strategic plan, but then we go in our department meetings and it's crickets. And you're like, did you get what I said? And then they, like when Molly transitioned to marketing, I announced in our department director meeting, she's no longer accounts payable, she's marketing. Well then people right after the meeting went to talk to her about AP stuff and I'm like, it's not clicking, you get that. So she works one-on-one with our department heads to roll it out in their departments. But I think it takes every formal leadership in an organization to change your company culture and be responsible for it. But do they take that ownership or not? I don't know.
She's the one that needs a stick.
I mean, we've found too, like we have some departments where morale is a lot lower than others, and sometimes it comes to how they're managed. Are they micromanaged? Is their supervisor feeling pressure from higher ups, and then they're just translating it different? Because like I meet with our CEO weekly, so I know what our CEO wants our employees to feel. But sometimes that communication doesn't get through the manager in the same tone to the employee.
Yeah.
So we try to do manager training, but they're just so busy. They're over, they're stressed out because they're understaffed. They're trying to schedule. They're attending all these meetings. So they're like in the meeting about training, but they're like doing something else. So it's like, how do you get them to stop and actually listen and take something away from the training?
How do you guys start your meetings? Each department meeting, how do you start it? What's the agendas?
We start with, our directors can turn in their leadership rounding with their staff, or they can turn in like an educational thing that they did that week, or that month on leadership. And then we used to do a claw machine, and that freaked all of our directors out. We had a claw vending machine, and they had to use the claw to get the prize, but some of them weren't that good to get the prizes, so then it freaked them out and they were embarrassed. Now we just do spin the wheel. So they could win swag items to a $500 bonus.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Every department meeting, that's how our department meetings are. And you would think you would like get tons of people to turn their stuff in. No. I wouldn't turn my stuff in because someone won $500.
So we start every department meeting, every company meeting, every team meeting, reviewing our core values. And then we give an example of one of the values that we saw in real life over whatever the period of time it was. So if for our all hands meeting, we meet once a month. If it's a team meeting, department meeting, those are weekly. And then our executive team meeting, we meet weekly, but we start, even with that group, we start with core values. We incorporate them in every employee review. That's how we're grading you. So are you, so one of ours is mind-blowing customer service. Are you living that value, that core value? And do I have examples that I can map that back to? We do them every 6 months. And so if you're not, like if you don't have a positive attitude, that's another one, we're gonna talk about it. So it's ingrained in our employee reviews. It is part of every meeting. We want good examples of it, and we don't highlight necessarily the bad ones, but those are areas that people can get fired from. If you constantly have a negative attitude, then you're not gonna exist. Like you can't operate there. And so that's how we try to make our core values come to life every single day, every single week. We find that then reminds everyone and kind of recenters everybody. I think you can have fun with things, and sometimes the carrots work for people. Some people just aren't very motivated, and so we found if we can offer a variety of rewards, if there is a reward system, some people get swag, some people get time off. One of the things that we offer is my COO likes the movie Cool Runnings, where they do a slow clap and it like builds over time. And so you can win, like you can redeem it for a slow clap in front of the whole company, or you can redeem your points for somebody else to get a slow clap. But we also do donations to charity because everybody has different motivations. Not everybody wants time off. Not everybody likes a Target gift card. I mean, most people like a Target gift card, but they may not want to go to lunch with the CEO. They may not want one-on-one time. They may care about, the Wildlife Foundation or whatever it may be. And so we like to meet people where they are so that they feel like that the ways that they can redeem, points or whatever it may be, or in this meeting, that you give a wide variety. We've got some people who they want to reward their team. And so we let them buy cupcakes from like a local bakery and have that delivered for their team. So we like to give a wide array of ways that people can redeem things. And it really, to me, it comes down to, are people valued? And are we having honest conversations with them? Are we helping them grow? Do they know how they impact the company? Do they know how their role impacts whatever the strategic plan is? When you meet with them, when you roll out a new strategic plan annually, typically, does each department go through and say, here's how you impact this goal. And it may be the custodian down to, a designer to a surgeon. Like, how do you impact this goal? There is a way to map it back, and letting them know how they impact those numbers allows you to go when you're doing your coaching session to say, hey, remember our goal is this, and we need your help to accomplish this by making sure that every room is clean. And that has a big impact because blah, 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 blah. So re-explaining to them how they are important, how every single person in that organization plays a role to make this thing work. Because it typically does. Like, you can't operate without, if you drop one of those departments off, you're gonna have a problem. And if they really start suffering there, if your custodial crew drops the ball and the campus looks crappy because they don't empty the garbage cans, or it's not a safe place to be, there's going to be a lot of ramification for that. But the guy pushing the broom probably doesn't feel that way. And so can you tie that back to how big of an impact they have with the organization? That's going to give them the sense of purpose and feel valued. But that's also got to be put in a process that you use with your heads of each department to make sure that they're communicating that and making sure that they're coaching to that when they are having those coaching sessions. How does that look today with like your nursing staff? How do you do one-on-ones with them? Do you coach them? How do you help them grow professionally? Anyone? They don't?
Sometimes in my role, I guess people kind of feel like I'm like the work mom, but I also do that in departments as well. They'll have me come in and talk to them about different ways that they can communicate differently, or like environmental services. That was a big one. The housekeepers kind of felt like they weren't important because they were housekeepers. So I helped them voice their concerns to their upline, and so they got their names changed to environmental services because then they felt more formal. Mm-hmm. But a lot of them are not as educated as other people in the hospital, so they felt like they didn't know how to communicate with people. So their department manager brought me in just to have some conversational coaching with them during staff meetings to teach them how to speak different. I don't want to say speak differently, but like have a different way of saying things so they felt more important and felt more heard, or to have a standard way of talking when they walk into a patient room to make sure that they felt important when they were there, to say, ma'am, I'm here. My name's Donald. I'm here today to clean your room to make sure that we provide you a safe atmosphere when you're here. Is there anything you need from me, or things like that? So they have me work on different things like that. And in the departments?
Sure. Have you ever been to a hotel and you're walking past the crew who comes in and services your room? And in some hotels, they just put their head down and like do one of those numbers. And then some hotels, they're like, hi, how are you? And then the great ones, they're like, hi, Mr. Jackson. I'm like, how the hell do you know my name? But they've been provided with all this information. If you go to Ritz-Carlton and the training they do, their morning huddles, every morning their whole crew, each team has a huddle. They know who the guests are who are coming in that day. They know who's on their floor. They know what type of newspapers they like to read. And so they're given all of that information on the front end so that they can have those interactions. And then they're taught how to remember that person's name. And a lot of it's through their technology, but that's every single day they're going over that. They're going over what happened well yesterday, what didn't, what we need to do today. Like, is there an important person here? I know that when my kids were born, the CEO of the hospital came to our room, stopped in, and said, how's it going? I mean, it was 3 minutes, but that was different. Like, that made you feel special. And I sure as shit had my other kids there too, because it was a different experience. He's my uncle, and he is the CEO there, so I wasn't gonna go anywhere else, but you know what I mean. Like, there are little touches that you can do. It could be the department manager, it could be whoever. If they stop in and make that experience special, whether you had your leg amputated or a kid, like, those are things that they're big in, they're big situations in these people's lives, and so you can make it a different experience. and assigning that out to people. Which room are you going to stop in today? Who are you going to check in with? Those are things that will make the experience different. But I think that the CEO, ultimately, if the CEO does not care about company culture, it's not going to work. Like, it's not going to happen.
So then what do?
You quit. You move to a different organization. You get the CEO fired. Or you do something to convince them that this is important. And you provide them with data and show them other health care organizations who deliver a higher level of excellence. They're more profitable. They operate at a higher level because they value this. And there's all kinds of studies out there. I mean, Cleveland Clinic does a good job. There's all kinds of organizations who focus on this and put this first that I'm very confident that you can go to those organizations and ask them how they implement this, and they can potentially network with that person. But
Well, I don't think that he doesn't think that culture is important. It's just that he doesn't want to do anything to get us there. He wants everybody else to do it.
sure.
So then you're still at.
So if everybody else needs to do it, then give me the tools to do it. Let me have the freedom to run with it. Let me own it, and let me implement the surveys. Let me go about it this way and lay out a plan of here's how I'm going to go about this. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's how we're going to sustain it. And this is what I think the end result's going to be. If you don't want to do it, let me do it. Whether that's your job or you're not, that's what I've found is if you go to someone who they don't want to do it themselves and just present them with a plan, they'll typically be like, okay, go ahead and run with it. Now, in your situation where you brought it to them, I mean, I would tie it back to, I feel like about 60% of our clients are in banking. And so they are numbers people. And if I can tie something back to, we want to do this foofy marketing campaign that includes TikTok and sponsoring, local college athletes, and this is what we're going to do. If I don't tie it back to the numbers and show them this is how we're going to change the bottom line, this is the whole point of this, then they don't always listen. So if I can go that far and then I can map it back and then I give them updates along the way, then they're usually on board. So it's work to do it, but ultimately, if you want to change your hiring problems, it's got to be a good place to work. Otherwise, you're just going to kick them right back out the door. They're just going to leave. So these are some things that I think are important for people within the organizations, and we are almost out of time. But to have a safe environment, the leaders have to be vulnerable. They have to be open. They don't have, if you make a mistake, you have to be able to admit that you made a mistake. You have to be able to make sure that people know it's okay to talk about that there's an issue or a challenge. That your organization is open to feedback and that there is a purpose for each of the groups. Like each team has a specific purpose in how they impact the organization. One of the things that we've implemented is a employee engagement platform. And this has been something that's allowed us to sustain and keep things going. And as we grew as a company, we ended up having multiple locations. And as people are spread out, it's one thing, the more people you have, the more challenging it is. The more floors on your building, the more challenging it is. The more locations you have, the more challenging it is to feel as one organization. And so what we wanted to do is have something that was essentially a way to recognize years of service, birthdays. We wanted to recognize and reward people for executing on our core values. And through those things, you could earn points, and then you'd redeem those points for things that we talked about earlier.
How do you feel about employee engagement being separated from employee recognition?
I feel like a lot of it goes hand in hand because if they're getting recognized, if they're being seen, then that helps them to be engaged. What we've seen as we've rolled this out, and there's a case study on here of a healthcare organization rolling it out, that their teams felt more engaged with the organization because this is imagine it's like a Facebook page internally. I don't have a good screenshot of it, but It's a news feed basically, and it's across the whole organization. So the person in accounting can recognize so-and-so that they saw in the cafeteria doing a great thing, and then the whole organization sees that recognition. Then the CEO can chime in and say, great job, I appreciate you doing that, but it gives you visibility into different levels of the organization that you typically don't see. But what's even more impactful, I think, is the peer-to-peer recognition and people appreciating each other. And that, if you feel appreciated from your team members and other people within the organization, like you saw that person picking up garbage on the street as they were walking in, those things start to lift people up and they feel like they are a part of a community and part of a team, where if they start getting beat down and they feel like, oh, I'm just on an island by myself, there is no sense of community. And so this is just a way to help. I don't know that this isn't the only way to do it. It's just something that we found that has helped our organization. And through it, we execute different challenges, different team events. And so if you do have, a party or whatever, people can sign up to attend it, and then they earn points for attending. We do book clubs. And so if you read this book together, then you earn points. We do step challenges that tie, it's pretty cool because it ties into like an Apple Watch or a Fitbit, and it builds a leaderboard every single day of who's leading steps, and then we got people walking around the office to get their steps in. But whatever you want to reinforce, we like tying it to specific goals. So if it's patient happiness and the results of the survey afterwards, and if we track that, we can tie that into a department score. But that helps reinforce this is a goal that we have as an organization, and they can visualize it, and then they can be rewarded for it. And then they execute their reward in a way that's meaningful for them. There's all kinds of platforms out there, depending on the size of your organization. Some are good for 10,000 employees, some are good for 200 employees, some are good for 50. So there are all kinds of options out there. One of the things, so this was our sales team that we were all working from home, and they all actually do still pretty much work from home, but they were having their meeting, and then the sales manager had a llama bomb as part of the meeting. So a llama just jumped into the meeting right in the middle of their sales meeting. And so figuring out different ways to incorporate this into your organization and what fits, what doesn't fit, those are important ways to continue the culture, to continue moving it forward. So the last speaker talked about onboarding. I think onboarding is an important thing, but I think that it should be an exciting time. And so I just want to share a couple things that we do before our employees come on board. Once they accept the position, I write them a handwritten note card, and then I put a gift certificate in there for a local restaurant so they can go to dinner with their family and celebrate their new job. Because I want their family to be excited about this. Because when they go home and bitch about what happened at work today and complain about me, I want their spouse to be like, yeah, but he's not such an asshole. He remember when we went to dinner to, remember those things, remember how this happened. This is we want them to be excited about this. We want the whole family. Don't you, if your person starts a new job, if your kids start, aren't you excited about that and you want to celebrate it? Why can't we help them celebrate that? And you don't have to give them $100. You can give them, it's not about the monetary value of it. It's just making that part of the process. We also then send them we send them a list of questions. What's your favorite food? What's your favorite snack? What do you like to do for fun? What's your favorite beverage? What's your favorite alcoholic beverage? Then we map this out for the first 2 weeks of them being employees. And so day one, we lay out their desk, have the computer set up to go. If you have, make sure that's all there and ready to go. But then I've literally mapped out, I have pictures of it. This is how I want somebody's desk arranged. This is where the keyboard goes, here's where the mouse goes, but then all the other stuff, the swag that we give them, I want it laid out like this. Don't just throw it there. Lay it out so that when they come in, I want this to be like an Instagrammable moment. I want them to be so excited that we're excited that they're there, that they want to share it to their networks. And we've had that happen, and then that just gives us better PR to hire more people who are excited about that. Then on a specific day, after the first day, we've got like at 3, they've got their favorite snack and their favorite beverage on their desk. And we just put this in our CRM. Like, we're just putting it in our CRM. We set up we use marketing automation. I don't know if you guys have any sort of tool, but you can schedule it out. You can put it in Outlook. That manager is responsible for going and getting that snack and bringing it in, putting it there at 3 o'clock on Tuesday. And then at the end of the week, they have their favorite alcoholic beverage. And then the next week, they've got, whatever it is, like their favorite candy bar. And so we make it personalized to these people, and it makes them feel special. So we map all those things out. You obviously have to do training, and you want to lay out what the goals are and what you want them to accomplish. But I think those little details are what makes it special, and they get excited about being a part of your team. But don't lose that information and don't only celebrate the new people. Come back 6 months later and give your employees their favorite snack. Come back 2 years later and give them their favorite drink. Whatever, use that data, put it in a CRM, put it in you probably have some sort of software that you can track that, but build that in to re-recognize and re-appreciate the employees that you have. Does anybody do stay meetings? Or it's basically, instead of like an exit interview, it's a stay interview. I mean, we ask when somebody leaves, oh, why did you leave? And we get all this information. Well, shit, I could have done something about that. Why not do that ahead of time? Why not do it now? Like, why aren't you doing that on a regular basis? Like, what would get you to leave? What would have such an impact on you that you would want to consider another job? Are there things that we need to do differently and change currently? Those are the things that will make the company culture better. They will feel appreciated and engaged. And then this is the net results. Like, your profitability goes up. I mean, you can add, this is why the CFO should care. I mean, they should care anyways, but this is bottom line numbers. These are the things that make an impact. The turnover rate, people calling off for work. I mean, all of that is a pain in the rear. And so if they call in less, you don't have to deal with that. It's work on the front end to keep them happy and engaged. And it's effort. It's continual effort. It does not stop. Just because you put in a new slogan, change your logo, give them a bunch of swag, that doesn't do it. It's all the time. It's continual effort. And that's why I feel like it has to be part of the CEO's KPIs that they report on, because it has to be part of the organization. Okay, we have 4 minutes left. What questions do you have? The questions that we started with, the things that you guys were trying to get out of this session, are there still questions that are out there? Has anybody had success implementing, or do you feel like your organization strongly focuses on company culture and you've had some wins with this? Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's what we focus on primarily. And you said a lot of the banking industry or finance, it's all numbers based, but my background's in HR, and it makes way more sense to go from the ground up. You can't advertise something if you can't back it up.
Mm-hmm.
People aren't going to do it.
We've implemented what we call Service Excellence Initiative, which I think some other hospitals also use, where our frontline actually run the program. So they teach the class during orientation about our Service Excellence program, and they also teach the CEO in the class. I mean, everyone goes through that training, and they're teaching us this year's, teaching whatever we're focusing on. I think that makes a difference. Our implementation specialist is, our coordinator is actually the EBS manager. So it's not the CEO that's running the program, it's environmental services guy happens to be, you know, before that it was a plant ops guy that was running the program. So having a front line be in front and center, I think helps. We have the favorites sheets that you suggested. I think that's helpful, but we have to remember to pull them out, which I don't think we're always good at doing. I know I'm not. Pull that out and do something special for my employee. And we just started something called the 6-month staffing fix. So someone's hired, we celebrate them. 30 days after they've been there, we take them all out into the hallway, we do a thing over the loudspeaker. Everybody join us at the domino wall, and we all go meet and we celebrate, give them just a little trinket, and we just clap and celebrate their 30 days. Do the same thing at 60 days and same things at 90 days, and their pictures stay on the wall for those 90 days. And then, you know, to try to keep them engaged, even after, like you say, they've been there for, it's great to do it for a week, but when you're trying to continually do that, then it takes more time, and you have to be engaged in doing that. But it seems to be working. We've only been doing that for just a little over 6 months. I think we've about 8 months now. So I think it's helping, but it is a lot of work, especially when you're low staffed, like most of us are. So then it puts more on the few that are running those programs.
So make sure you're loving on that staff that you do have, though. When I was sitting in the last session, my lead designer, who's been there 8 years, she's like, I'm not feeling well. I'm going to take off the rest of the afternoon. I'm like, no problem, like, no big deal. But we have a budget that we set aside for customers and employees who aren't feeling well. And so I let another manager know, like, hey, can you Instacart her some Kleenex and chicken noodle soup and Benadryl and just have it delivered to her house? That's awesome. If your employees or if your clients are sick, not necessarily, I mean, all of your clients are sick, shit, so that doesn't work. We have a budget set aside that we send stuff to their house. We send them a get well kit. Or, and so maybe if it's your team, when they go out on maternity leave or if they have a surgery, do something nice for them while they're out so that they feel like, oh, they actually care. You know, I'm taking a day off and they actually care and they want me to get better. And it's not don't come from a place of, well, I need you back at the office. Like, do it because you care about these people. And I think when they know that you care about them, they'll want to be part of the team. So we're at our time here. I appreciate the engagement and thank you for chiming in. If you guys do have questions, I'll be around for a little bit. I have my card, or you're welcome to reach out to me at any point. I'm happy to, I nerd out on this stuff, so I'm happy to talk about it at any point. So thank you guys.